What's good? My name's Tsquiggs, and I love playing video games, but I also love sharing my gaming experiences with the rest of the world. So today, I'll share a game that's a few years old and no one cares about anymore. Forgive Me, Father. Forgive Me, Father is a retro-style, Lovecraftian first-person shooter developed by Byte Barrel and published by Fulcrum Publishing. The game was released in April of 2022. Right out of the gate, we can just see how beautiful this game is. It reminds me of that game that everyone knows about, Darkest Dungeon. Now, I can sit here, go on the internet, and use all the fancy words I don't understand to describe the graphics, but I like the more cartoony, thick lines that this game has. The gameplay is a mix of fast-paced FPS like Doom and Ultrakill with some bullet hell gameplay, especially in the boss fights. But enough hooping and hollering, let's get into the gameplay and show you how I beat Forgive Me Father. First up, we start on the home screen, like in every other game, and here we must choose who to play. We can be the more defensive priest who plays slowly, or the faster paced journalist. The main difference will be how quick our abilities reload after we use them. With no idea what the gameplay even looked like, I chose to play the journalist because Mama didn't raise no scaredy cat. We start the game with a letter from our cousin Lewis that asks us to come help him in our hometown of Pestoville. After going to the room in the Drunken Sailor where we were supposed to meet him, we hear a knock at the door. Turns out to be a zombie. We fight our way through the inn, getting a look at some of the enemies we will be fighting. This includes a zombie that carries around another head if you headshot them, and more we will discuss here in a bit. We take a look at the pistol, a basic revolver, but one of the interesting parts of this game are the skill trees that you can use to upgrade your weapons and powers in. We find a double barrel shotgun, which is good at killing enemies that are close up with buckshots. We start the second level with the addition of a fat sailor that is interesting because if you don't kill him with a headshot, he will detach his top half and try to eat your ankles. Next, we see one of the most annoying enemies in the game, the Liquidator. They do this weird green triple shot that always seems to hit me, or I'm just really bad at games. Probably both are valid. We also see these explosive barrels on legs, which adds the confusion of what the hell is actually going on here. We get the upgrade for the shotgun that allows us to shoot more than once and the bullets can bounce off walls. Plus, it gets this pretty sick camo. We make it through the inn and arrive at the town. It is a weird maze of buildings that seems to be made to give me cover from the green balls and the zombies that are running at me. But I won't complain. It would just suck to live here. I died a few times here, but I'm still too proud to lower the difficulty. After getting through the streets, we find the submachine gun, which is a fun weapon to use that you can also upgrade to shoot grenades, which we will never use or even try because I'm just too lame. Here, I will go ahead and complain about something that will be persistent throughout the game and frustrating to no end. These goddamn keys. A lot of this game feels like you go into a large area. The large area will have 3 or 4 doors, each requiring a different colored key to get through. So a lot of this game boils down to going to an area, finding a blue key, opening a blue door, finding a red key behind that blue door, and using that key to find a yellow key. Now I know it's not the destination but the journey, and that the gameplay is what I should pay attention to. But when every level is done like this, it starts to get repetitive and bland, but ran over. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. We upgrade the pistol to the dual wield so we can have double the shots with half the accuracy. Bad trade off and a bad upgrade. Finally, almost 30 minutes in, we get to use one of our powers. What these powers do is they give us abilities to use against the monsters. The first one summons a sword, and that sword, well, it's used to cut up the monsters. The only time you will see me using this power is when I need health, because there's an upgrade that allows you to lifesteal when you slash the monsters. Alright, from here, I'm not going to go into everything that happens, or this video will be 3 hours long, and that's a no-go. 15 minutes is good for retention. We're climbing over the rooftops, we're parkouring, trying not to fall off and die. We then find the camera power, which is doo-doo. I will only use it once or twice, and that's going to be by accident. But what this does is it stuns enemies in front of you. However, they're literally not sitting in your lap like that creepy Santa Claus in the mall. It will not reach them, so it goes in the bin. We make it off the roofs, and we make it down to the docks. Or at least I think this is the docks. So a lot of water around either way. We find the next power, the voodoo doll. This has more similarities with the camera. If the enemies are close enough and you use the doll, it will deal damage to the enemies around you. The only issue is that I used it a few times and it never seemed to do enough damage. So, another power you will rarely see me use. We meet another annoying monster that throws its fist at you, and they explode like 3 seconds later. He's ass, and I hate him, and that's all. We make it to the hospital where we find the newest enemy, which is the patient. They sit in a corner and they cry, like a witch from Left 4 Dead. They're easy to kill though, so nothing else to say. After running through a death maze, we make our way to the first of many bosses, Catharsis. This means releasing strong or pent up emotions, resulting in a sense of relief, renewal, or psychological cleansing. Now, I know that it has to have a deeper meaning, and it's not just a bunch of dead bodies in one mass, but to me, it's just a big enemy, and I have big bullets, or sufficient bullets. I mean, they get the job done at least. The boss goes down, easy enough. There's no reason to go over the mechanics for a boss that doesn't deserve it. It was trash. After killing the boss, however, we find Dr. Sullivan, who gives us a key with the image of Cthulhu on it and tells us we will open the gates of darkness with it. He also tells us to go up the hill. That is where everybody is. And our cousin is there, and he needs our help. And then Dr. Sullivan fucking dies. On our way up the hill, we find a ghoul who carries around his dead homie's tombstone with him. Just a tanky enemy, though. As we are going through the graveyards, I will mention that I did find a new weapon a little while ago, an AR that's a 3 round burst, and it's actually pretty good. I just looked so much like the submachine gun that I didn't even notice. So much so that earlier in the script, I said the submachine gun turned into a gun that shoots grenades. I lied. This AR turns into that gun. Oops. A good YouTuber would go back and fix that, but here we are. Out of the fryer and into the frying pan, we go inside a huge grave that reminds me of a pyramid. Here we find the newest power to add to our collection cigarettes. Yay, lung cancer. Can we get W lung cancer in the chat, please? Just kidding. That's insensitive. But what the SIGs do is slows down time for everything but you. Really good, but for some reason, I don't use it that often. Maybe next time I play the game, I'll have to use it more. This level loves this enemy that can teleport and shoot yellow balls at you. A boring enemy that does way too much damage. It's a C tier. They also introduce these sigils that can summon a lot of common enemies. If you don't kill the sigil in enough time, it'll keep summoning those common enemies. Annoying as well. Just give me enemies that lay down and die, please. But other than the new powers and the new enemies, this level is just another find a key, open a door, rinse and repeat. Yay! There's definitely going to be somebody in the comment who loves this games, and he will make a comment like, these keys are a good mechanic. No, they're not. Shut up. Down in the swamp, we meet some swamp monsters that like to play whack-a-mole with you. We also find my favorite weapon, the harpoon, but that's only because I'm an alpha male who hits 100% of my shots. Just don't look at the raw footage for this playthrough. My brother wanted to play all those times. But the harpoon is dope, shoots harpoons, does a lot of damage. It's not that complicated of a weapon. After putting keys in keyholes, we make it to a cave with doors, I guess. Well, we're going crazy, so I'll give it a pass. We find these monsters that are just piles of dead creatures called gooblers that can jump up and attack you. This is the first new enemy that we found in a while, so let's hope they don't ruin it somehow. In this weird tunnel, we find one of the tankiest enemies we'll find in the game, Crabman. Very innovative name. He can throw Old Bay seasoning at you or hit you with his big crab arm. The penultimate level of this chapter involves keys and doors. You know the rest. But that leads us to the boss of the chapter, Azes. AzYzz. Which to me is just a combination of random letters, but to someone who knows the lore of Lovecraft, probably means something else. I'll talk about in the comments so I can learn too. Either way, this boss sucks. He leaves pedestals on the ground, which you have to shoot, which will then cause him to lose his shield, and then you can finally damage him. However, the common spawns who keep shooting you in the rotating energy fields that damage you are the real bosses of these chapters. But we push through and finish the boss. Some of my powers would have helped here. Like the one that slows down time or something. Too bad we don't have anything like that. After beating the boss, we see that our cousin Lewis is already dead, and that Mayor Mahoney is the one to blame, and he's leading the cult. He wants the key that we got from Dr. Sullivan as well. We're not going to give it to him. Mahoney ends up sending a bunch of his followers after me to get the key, but we end up killing them with one shot, because they're only using torches. We also find a new weapon after we escape the cult, and it can be best described as a Lovecraftian booty hole. It shoots a projectile that explodes and kills enemies, but it struggles with if it isn't close enough to give the enemy a kiss, it's not going to hit them. So I'm not going to be using it that often. It also has an upgrade, but I never used it. This chapter also has us running through a lot of houses and a lot of cornfields. Maybe the level design will ramp up here eventually. And it does, because we find an undercover murder dungeon in one of the house's basements. So it's going to get a little crazy. Around here is where we decide that we need to reset our upgrade tree because our current tree is trash. We get the single pistol that fires much faster, and you'll see a lot more of it. We get rid of the electric submachine gun because it runs out of ammo too fast. Also, around here is where one of my main complaints with the game comes from. You have one area with multiple doors that you need to open with different keys, but this is not what I'm complaining about. The issue is when you have to backtrack constantly and everything looks the same. I mean, look at the sewer level. The levels from here get longer and longer, not because the levels are getting longer, but because half the time I don't know where the fuck I'm going. After the sewer, we find these little guys with no heads that will explode after you kill them. This game might fall short in some areas, but it really excels in monster design. Our next stop is going to be a ship, and we have to find our way through there. First stop will be a lab that's on the ship. It's a creepy place, has a lot of enemies sitting in these weird tube things. I hope they don't, jump out at me, introduce a new enemy maybe. It could be tanky, like a crabman, shoot projectiles at us like a liquidator, maybe kill us instantly. There's no way they'll introduce something like that, right? We find a cool new plasma gun, can either be used as a submachine gun or a hybrid weapon. That hybrid weapon can shoot worms on the ground. These worms are cool, but I'm not good at using it. Because unless I'm close enough to smell the enemy's breakfast, it does not hit the enemy for me. So you're going to see me using the submachine gun version. Also, the enemies I talked about, their names are mutants, and they're here to stay. After making it through the labs, we end up in an industrial factory. And I mean, do all boats have stuff like this? Can I go to the industrial factory and then hit up my job at the lab after? That's pretty cool. This level has some conveyor belts and adds this cool aspect where you can jump from the conveyor belts. It's just a cool little aspect they can add for the first person shooter gameplay. We leave the industrial complex and we end up underwater, and we can only use our harpoon gun. Kind of reminds me of that one scene from Bioshock where you have to wear the Big Daddy outfit. We also find a 2D fish and we're asking for help. So we're just going insane now, right? We find a big goobler who needs to stay off the juice. He's just a tanky enemy that jumps at you and does moderate damage. He's not that bad. After making it through the sea, we find our next boss, the big ugly fish. Now this boss is both the easiest and the hardest. Easy because he does little damage, his attacks are telegraphed well, and he doesn't have a lot of health. Hard because it doesn't tell you where to go once this water starts to rise. So I kept dying. I need hand holding in my video games, please. After killing the big ugly fish, W name by the way, we feel something calling to us on the ship. It feels like a compulsion, but it's a human voice. After getting on the ship, we see that Tom Phillips is calling us. He looks like he's struggling to tell us something. We don't understand half of what he's trying to say, and that just makes us angry. After talking to Tom, we make the rest of the way through the ship. We exit the ship to what I can only describe as a blood sea with floating platforms to jump on. So we are going insane now. I wonder how much has actually happened compared to what we are seeing. From here, it will start giving us enemies that I cannot hit with bullets because I suck. They are fast and they zip around the map. They are called abysmal hunters. Going through the level, we begin to see some weird stuff. The first thing we see is a reflection of something or someone that we don't know. We are also continuing to see a lot of these mushrooms everywhere. They had some earlier in the game, but now they're everywhere. We make our way into what looks like a cathedral, where we find a room that has doors but no keys. Guess who gets to go find all the keys? But also, we find our first flying enemy that will shoot balls at you. But if you do half of its health and damage, it will fall to the ground and chase after you faster than that crackhead does at your local gas station. Mechanic that becomes more and more common in these later levels are these holdouts, where you have to pick up a item in the middle of the room and then will spawn a lot of enemies. The door is not going to open behind you until you kill all of the enemies. As we move through the level, we will see that we are going deeper into insanity, as we are on a concrete path with a Lovecraftian sky. After another holdout, we fall into a hole and move on to the next level of this chapter. We make our way through a mine, but we end up in a field where it feels like somebody's behind us. It's a boss, Glitch. By this point, we have found out how OP the Tsquiggs are. We have upgraded them a few times, and now we can sit in the power up forever. Even with him spawning doubles of himself and running around like a madman, we kill him. If you know what's going on and want to share that with me, please do, because I don't know who the glitch is or why it's so significant. We walk into an oval room and we see Mahoney with a bunch of his lackeys around him. We grab our gun and then we just start blasting and we kill everybody. He tells us that Mar will come. Even if we kill him, the Dark Lord will rise. We shoot him in the head, move on, and open the gate with the key. We enter a world that has flesh pathways and no sky. We find a new enemy called the Slither. Kind of reminds me of a grunt from Halo. They are small, tanky, and shoot fast. Just a more annoying version of Liquidators. We're getting close to the end. We meet this meatball that will kamikaze you after you kill him. We make it past one of the longest levels with too many switches and keys to count, and make it to another concrete hallway with no sky. Let's get through the rest of this really quick. We have to go through multiple portals and complete a full holdout. This takes us to the Giga Chad Cthulhu himself. His boss fight's not that difficult. He can shoot you with his shoulder balls, he can mortar attack the ground, he can signal beam cannon you, and he can send beams to cut up the arena you're standing in. The difficulty of this fight comes from not being able to shoot him and pay attention to the ground at the same time. But boom, he's dead. Now what? Even after killing the Dark Lord, he still gets into our heads and turns us into a monster. We wake up in a hospital bed with people looking at us. They tell us that in a manic frenzy we killed everyone in town and our cousin. The game ends with the line, "The pain will never end." So that's the game. Forgive me, Father. What did I think? Well, you've already been here long enough. I don't want to waste your time. But I think the game is fine. It's fun with fluid gameplay. The level design needs some work, and I think the game went on just a little too long. I think this game could be improved and maybe be one of the best games of this genre. I hear they have a Forgive Me Father 2. Should I try it out? Do you think it's any better? Let me know in the comments. Like always, thanks for watching and peace out.